to the table. And we're going to run through some basic functions, some basic things that we do over at SkyWire. But in order to do that, typically I like to start out by telling you what SkyWire is, how we came into the marketplace, what was our focus, where did we start, and ultimately we want to touch on the enterprise architecture. And the enterprise architecture, some of that is going to be what was previously mentioned, the self-healing database and some of the resiliency options we have available. Then we're going to touch on configuration. We're going to show you our cloud-based configuration module. We're going to touch on hardware and different product offerings we have. That should take us through, most of the webinar. Obviously, we will have a brief QA going on at the end of it. But so let's get started. SkyWire was started by Sean Harris. He's our CEO and chairman of the board. And what you'll notice here is that he started out with a company called Infogenesis, and they've been since bought out by Agilysys. And he decided to start SkyWire, which was a marketing-centric company, which would allow SkyWire to reach out to individual customers, send campaigns, triggered events, things like that, which I'll touch on in the future slides. But what he quickly realized was, in order to get a more powerful marketing campaign, he needed to incentivize the customers, and in order to do that, the necessary next part of the marketing evolution would be to interface with point-of-sale companies like Micros, companies like Infogenesis or Agilysys. Micros obviously since been bought out by Oracle, and NCR, and so on and so forth. So when he decided that we were going to transition into the hospitality environment, one of his main competitors in the market space was Micros at the time, and Chief Operating Officer Thomas Castleberry happened to be his primary competition over at Micros. So Sean figured, if we're going to start a point-of-sale company, might as well get some of the best minds together and see if we can't build something out, and that's what they did. And what you'll notice when you get in contact with SkyWire is that essentially we have a nice blend of different point-of-sale experts within the industry, and we think we've all come together and created a revolutionary next-generation style point-of-sale offering to the gaming hospitality market, and we're going to talk about some of those things coming up here. So to kick things off, SkyWire is not just a point-of-sale company or a marketing company. We obviously offer different touch points. Like I mentioned earlier, being able to incentivize a customer from a point of sale is obviously something that we wanted to target. But we noticed there are much more customer touch points involved, and one of those would be our spa and activities management system. So if somebody comes in for a spa, we want to be able to send them promotions. Maybe we can send out some specials on different lotions or different things that they'd like. That's another touch point, something that we wanted to integrate. But marketing is sending out a text message is only part of what a marketing company does. The marketing services team that we have here will help guide our customers through the marketing process. So we won't just send out, hey, come on down to our location and come on down to our bar or restaurant and have a cheeseburger. That's not a powerful campaign, so we offer services to help incentivize and properly send out messages so people read them and you actually get a return on your investment. So when we were building this technology, a lot of our competitors out in the market space, there are a lot of large companies, and they do a really good job. But what they've kind of failed on is staying up to date with technology. We want to talk about self-healing databases. We want to talk about resiliency. In order to keep up with those, we have to stay up to date with Microsoft technology. So this slide here is just to show you that Windows, we support everything, Windows 8.1 on our terminals. We support SQL Server 2014. We support SQL Server 2012 R2. So all the latest technology that's out there, we support, and it enables us to create a product offering that can be more resilient and more flexible to the market space. So the obvious next question is always, do we support some older technology, such as maybe Windows 2008? And the answer is yes. Providing they stay within scope. All of our credit card PCI processing requires that you stay up to date on your operating system. So providing they are still supported by the vendor, we will be fine with installing on them. So now that we have the architecture down and the software down, and we realize that we can run on all the latest and greatest, I want to talk to you about some of the traditional architecture that's out in the market space now. Bottom line is everybody claims that they have offline capabilities and they have resiliency. And the truth is, if they don't, they're probably not a company that should be in large environments or even small environments for that matter. If you can't run offline and you can't take a transaction in an offline state, then you've fallen way behind the curve as far as technology goes. So let's take into account traditional architecture. This is what could be called server client. Basically, every terminal, you'll see here, property 1, property 2, will send every request from a keystroke to a kitchen printing to interfaces up to a server or a group of servers. And those servers will do the heavy lifting. It'll do the processing. It'll print kitchen receipts. It'll process an interface to gift cards or any other interface you may have, PMS systems such as RoomKey. But in the event that server goes down, those terminals, while they can take a cash transaction, they may not be able to do anything else, and that becomes, a big problem on sites and large sites when they can't take a room charge or they can't take a credit card. So, what they decided they'd do is they group up servers and they'd say, if one server fails, I'll fail over to another server and then we'll pick up. But ultimately, you still had that connection break where if you lost connection to the server or groups of servers, you would not be able to process the transactions accordingly. This technology is dated. Yeah, it works, but there are better ways to do it. So then some of the larger point-of-sale customers, some of our competitors, they decided that they were going to build what everyone refers to as service-oriented architecture, or SOA, and that allows you to split out services. So in this example, you'll see I still have my property 1, I still have my property 2, and I still have a server sitting up top. But you'll see that I've added 2. Some people call them service hosts, some people call them interface servers. Whatever they're called, they're responsible for processing interfaces. So what they decided they do is instead of having a single point of failure at the server level, they just split those out, and that was great technology. I mean, this was pretty good stuff for a while. And you could have these credit card servers split out by 10 properties, 20 properties. It didn't matter. But ultimately, you still had that point of failure that if that server or group of servers went down, you would not be able to service your guests appropriately. So when I came on board, Thomas Casberry, who I worked with closely over at Micros, he came on board and said, let's find a different way to do this. Well, let's think about this from a front-end perspective, from a user perspective. If you've ever been in a kitchen or been in a restaurant when the POS goes down, it turns into chaos. It turns into a disaster. And no matter how much planning you do for it, there's always going to be some issue, something you didn't think of. Customer service gets affected, and ultimately, a point-of-sale system should not affect your ability to service your guests. So, this one single point of failure, while a decent technology, is not what we call next-generation point-of-sale. So, let's take a look at the SkyWire's design. What we did is we've taken the offline capability that most of our competitors use, and we turned it on its head. We create from a terminal level. Every terminal has its own credit card processing. It has its own printing to the server, printing to the kitchen. It has its own interfaces, and it has its own local database. So in other words, we don't go up to the server to say, hey, print this ticket to the kitchen. The workstation could do it. The workstations have come a long way. They can handle a lot of data. They can handle a lot of information. And if programmed correctly, they can handle this load. So what we did is we flipped it around. Everything resides on the terminal. So in the event of failure, depending on where it is within the network, we give our customers options. We give them the ability to do different interfaces and do different credit cards. So terminals start everything. Everything runs locally within the terminal, and then we just sync totals in the background. So it's much easier to sync a check after the fact than it is to go send information up to a server, send it out to wherever it needs to go. So all we do is sync data in the background. We cut down bandwidth by doing such. So let's take a look at SkyWire service replication. So like I said, we had a single terminal, but we have to replicate these services on every terminal that we have. So anywhere from 3 to 3,000 terminals, everyone will have their own interfaces and they will have their own setup. This can span out based on your recommendations, based on your server design, based on your architecture, internal architecture. So where this gives us a leg up, instead of everyone having to adapt to what the point-of-sale vendors have out there and what resiliency they have in place, what we at SkyWire can do is we can go in, we can do an assessment of your network with your IT guy or just with you in general. We have managed services for IT that can help you out if you don't have those resources. And we will find the fault points. We will find how to make the best, most resilient system based on your environment, not based on what the point-of-sale can handle. So when you get into large-scale environments, it sounds great that every terminal is talking directly out to where it needs to go, and every terminal is talking directly to the server to replay the checks and things like that. What happens when you get into a really large environment? What happens when, you know, I have 100 terminals or I have 50 terminals and they're all talking? Any IT guy is going to tell you that, you know, that might be a lot of traffic. If we're passing back databases and we're passing back all kinds of different things, there's going to be a lot of traffic. And we thought about that. So what we did is we enabled what's called a zone controller. And they're configurable, same as the workstations. We would place a zone controller. In this example, what I've done is I've created 3 what we call profit centers, or 3 locations. I have a bar, I have a cafe, and I have a retail environment. What I've done is I've created zone controllers that sit on top of each one of these properties. I'm sorry, each one of these profit centers. This allows you to send transactions up to the zone controller, and only the terminals, so looking at the bar, only those terminals will talk to zone controller 1, and only the cafe terminals will talk to zone controller 2, and only the retail ones will talk to the other zone controller. So what you do is you limit traffic floating throughout the environment. And basically these can be stacked on top of each other and can scale from a single site up to literally thousands of sites. So there's no limit to the amount of zone controllers. There's no limit to the amount of flexibility within the design. So this takes SOA, service-oriented architecture, to the next level. This allows you to configure the site the way you need to run the most effective way. So taking this step further, just showing you what if I have multiple properties, I'm just stacking these zones on top of each other, and I'm able to say from the cafe goes to zone 2, and then that reports to the property zone, and then the property zone reports to the enterprise zone. So think of it like Legos. You just stack them on top of each other, and all the data will flow up based on your settings. So now to the fun part. So we talked about service-oriented architecture. We talked about how to properly configure resilient networks and how to properly configure a point-of-sale system to fit within your environment. But what that gives us a leg up on pretty much all of our competition. And the ability to do that just gives us great flexibility. But that wasn't good enough. We needed a little bit more. So what I'm showing here is what has gotten a lot of attention out in the market space, which is the ability to do a self-healing database. And that's a generic word. What does self-healing database mean? In theory, the way a self-healing database works is if I lose a database anywhere, that database should be fixed, right? Well, who fixes it? How does it get fixed? What steps are taken? Is there any manual intervention that I need to do from an IT perspective, from a manager perspective? What do I need to do to fix this issue? So, in a typical world, if I lose my server, let's say I have a SQL server somewhere, let's say I have a workstation that goes down, I'm going to call my point-of-sale provider. They're going to call me up, and they're going to say, okay, well, we need a failover, and we need to go through 10,000 steps. We may have to dispatch somebody out to site to fix this, and that obviously comes with some time and materials, money, charges, recurring costs, things like that. Well, to be honest, with the way point-of-sale systems work, we don't have to do the server-client architecture. We can move this data now. So what we've done is if I lose a server, if I lose a workstation, if I lose a group of workstations, the workstation will go out to all the different zones and all the different workstations and everywhere throughout the environment. It will go find the latest database. It will pull it down automatically, recreate that database locally, and get you back up and running. This technology is bidirectional. It could be the server goes down and the server pulls the databases from the local terminals to recreate. Either way this works, there's no user intervention needed. There's no calling support to have this happen. Database is gone. We should go out and find the latest copy, grab the database, and restore. And that's what we do, all without user interaction. So this technology is something that, you know, is like nothing I've seen on the market before. Being able to do that ensures that you will not lose data. It ensures that your terminals will, in case of catastrophic failure, I've lost 99% of my terminals, but I have one that's sitting off somewhere else. I can go and just fire up those terminals, and it'll pull from that. So any IT guy is going to say, well, what about conflict resolution? What happens if I have, you know, on one terminal in the cafe I have a cheeseburger, and that cheeseburger was $5.99, and I went to terminal 2 in that same cafe, and I changed the price from $5.99 to $6.99. What happens? Which one gets it? Well, the latest. It's based on timestamps down to fractions and fractions of seconds. It's based on, obviously, conflict rules, which say which one wins and things like that. So we've built in all this to take it out of your hands. You don't have to worry about it. You don't have to say this server is my primary and this one is my backup. We don't have to do that. We'll do it based off time. The latest change wins. If you change the price from $5.99 and then an hour later it's $6.99, 2 hours later from another terminal you change it to $7.99, it's going to take the $7.99 price because that was the latest one. And it'll distribute out accordingly. Now, what happens? How long does it take to sync everything back up? What do I have to do? You know, obviously these are some of the questions that we commonly receive. The thing is, all we do is we go out and check network connection. So if you lose network connection for an hour, doesn't matter. We just go out, we find it, and once the network connection is reestablished, we replay it. We replay the transactions automatically. Everything syncs back up and works perfectly. So that's the self-healing database. This is one that, you know, we could really dive into in a demo, but obviously with the time allotted, I could spend all day talking about this. So I'm going to stick to this for now. If there are questions that come up on the self-healing database, I'm more than happy to answer them. We can talk about those after the fact. So going in line with, you know, the architecture, we have to build an architecture that's resilient enough to keep everybody up and running. Well, with a lot of point-of-sale systems out there, you have, you know, a configuration utility of some sorts, and this configuration utility can handle maybe a restaurant, maybe even able to handle 2 restaurants. Maybe some of the higher end enterprise ones, they may be able to handle multiple properties, multiple enterprises, and I want to assure you we can do that. But in doing this, there becomes complexities. I come from, obviously, you know, my background with micros. It's able to do enterprise level configuration, absolutely. But it becomes convoluted. It becomes hard to use. We have gone through great pain to make sure that we don't sacrifice the ability to customize the system to what our users need, but keep it simple to use on the front end. So when you get into an enterprise type solution, typically you'll assign 1 or 2 people that will be in charge of adding new employees or setting up new products or setting up new happy hours or modifiers, things like that. But in reality, these things happen during the course of the night. I'm a manager and I'm on the floor, right? And all of a sudden I realize I've got to reroute my kitchen printing. How do I do it? I got to go into the terminal and do it. I could go into my manager's back office. I got to go into the manager's back office. I got to make a change. I got to go out to the front terminal and I got to test my change. Since the last piece we talked about, which was the replication of data throughout the terminal level, the terminal being the starting point and the replication of data throughout, every configurable option is available from the terminal level, meaning there's no discernible difference between the web config and the terminal level to be able to make changes on the system. So if I'm going to give this configuration access out to anyone, then it's got to be simple and easy to use. So we've gone through, we've made everything very simple, very straightforward, very clean, and it's all based on access level. So we don't have to assign one person to take care of everyone's changes all throughout the environment. We can set this up and say, I'm Jeremy. I'm a bar manager. I want to be able to change my bar prices. but I don't want him to, let's say my boss doesn't want me to make changes to the kitchen or make changes to the cafe or the bar. I can restrict user. Everything within the system is based on access levels. If you don't have access, you cannot make the change. So this runs on any browser. I think we've tested it on, there are actually utilities out there that will test on, more browsers than I've ever heard of. So I mean, all the standards, Chrome, Firefox, Internet Explorer, if you like to use that, Safari, those will all work with this web configuration utility, because essentially it's just a website. You can go in, you can hit it. All the technology, all the back end that we do allows you to do this from anywhere. If you have an internet connection, you can make a change. So let's say I'm sitting at home. I'm the bar manager now. I'm sitting at home, and my supervisor calls me up and he says, "Hey, I got to make a change." Well, you could either tell him to do it locally, or if you wanted to control everything, you still have that access. You can go in from sitting at home on your couch, go into the website based on your credentials, make a change, have it flow down to the different terminal levels. Taking that a step further, any point-of-sale system is as good as its reporting. I mean, ultimately, the job of a point-of-sale system is to capture sales and give you the analytics and give you the tools that you need to properly see what's going on within your environment. So we have what's called a teller backend, but essentially it gives you the ability to customize reports quickly, easily, drag-and-drop style reporting that we could create reports for you based on your demand. It has charts. It has all the dashboards. Our reporting structure comes equipped with about 30, I think we're up to about 35, 40 reports that come standard. But one advantage we have is that it is a drag-and-drop style reporting. So if I want to create a report that says I want net sales, I want gross sales, I want tax, and I want total, our support level people can go in, create your report, distribute it out, and be able to give you what you need. So the enterprise reporting structure is very important, which kind of leads me into my next point. What if I have multiple properties, and in those multiple properties I have say 2 bars, right? And in those bars both carry Bud Light. Okay. So what do? Do I create the item 2 times? Does it show up when I run an enterprise level report that consolidates the totals from both sides? Does it say 2 Bud Lights? Or do I have to do, like some of the other companies out there, I have to do some kind of manual mapping that says this Bud Light and this Bud Light are the same? How can I address that? Well, we take care of that for you. We will roll everything up based on name, not based on ID. So if you create a Bud Light in both scenarios, it will roll up into the total, and that's on an item level. So if I wanted to do Bud Light, or I wanted to just take all of my beers and have it consolidated and rolled up into the enterprise reports, I can get snapshots at any level from enterprise, property, or profit center. Profit center's location. So that's kind of our reporting module. Reporting is key to what we do. So if there are any questions on that later on in the presentation, feel free to ask. I can tell you what we have and how it works. So next up is hardware. We at SkyWire are an HP OEM, which basically means that we get a bunch of discounts. We get HP equipment, which is tried, true, tested equipment that will allow for our software to run perfectly within your environment. We know that people sometimes like the larger terminals, and we have all kinds of different styles from RP7s to RP2s, which are 15-inch touchscreens, typical standard, maybe older technology, older looking technology, but fit in certain environments, like a bar. You wouldn't want a tablet in a bar. I guess you could if you kept your bar pretty clean. But then there's the tablet-based ones, and there's the hybrid type scenarios. And what I have up on the screen here is what we call or what HP calls the TX1. And this TX1, as you can see, comes in a bundle. It has a printer. It has a printer. It has a magnetic card reader off to the side. It has a cash drawer, and it has a tablet that sits on top of a stand. So if I wanted to unmount that tablet and take it around the restaurant, I'd be able to do that based on my network connection, wireless network, things like that. But one thing I want to touch on here is that magnetic card. And that, it looks like such a small thing, but it actually turns into quite a large thing when you're looking at next generation software. everyone's heard of breaches. Everyone's heard on the news that different people, I'm not going to give any names, but different companies have been breached and their credit cards have been taken from them. And obviously, it's bad press. Nobody wants to deal with it. PCI will mandate that you keep up with certain levels of software and certain firewalls and certain network architecture. What we've done is we built this point of sale from the MAG card up. This MAG card is what we call out of scope. Obviously, it doesn't allow for any transactions. For people in Canada, this is probably nothing new, but U.S. standards do not require out of scope yet, but it's something that we definitely wanted to do. So essentially what happens is this MAG card consumes the credit card information. POS never sees it based on who you use, ship for, whoever your provider is. They will encrypt this MAG card and credit card and supply the SkyWire POS with a token. And that token will be used to reference a credit card, right? Pretty standard technology. Next up is obviously EMV in the U.S. Obviously, Canada's had EMV for quite a while now, but it's new to the U.S. market. So if anyone has any questions on that later on, I'd be more than happy to answer those. But long and short is our data, our credit card data, from a point-of-sale perspective, we never see. Therefore, if you do get breached, and not that I'm saying that could ever happen to you, but if it does, you don't have to worry about the bad publicity that comes with getting breached and customers getting upset that their credit cards are taken. So the last thing I wanted to talk to you about, obviously, like I mentioned earlier, we are a marketing company. We are a company that started, and we believe in the edge that marketing can provide. So what we do is, as you can see here, I have my TX1, and I also have a picture of a phone sending a message to a phone. So that message, you'll see it show this coupon at the center bar, get 20% off. All you have to do is enter this code. So I have a code there, but it could be a barcode, it could be whatever you wanted, that you can scan into the software, so on and so forth. But basically, you take that promotion, you drive sales to a certain area within your environment. So let's say I'm a hotel. I have it's a relatively slow night. I have people opted in from my PMS system or whoever. I have them opted into a marketing program, and it's slow at the bar, and people, we know we're full, right? I can see from my reports in my room key system that you know, we have a full house, but nobody's coming down to the bar. Well, we thought, hey, wouldn't it be nice, rather than having a manager or somebody else go to a back office, create a marketing strategy, send out these text messages, drive up some business? Wouldn't it be nice if I could just consume that into the point of sale? And what you'll see on the left-hand side here, the picture's probably not big enough to give you enough information, but what it is you can create campaigns directly from the point of sale. Meaning, if I'm a manager, and access level obviously required if you have the access to do this, you can actually go directly from the terminal, and over here what I did is I created a message that said happy hour. And in that happy hour, it says, hey, come on down, get 50% off all advertisers. And I can schedule that message. I can do it in dollar. I can do it in percentage. I could schedule it to be only active for today or be active from now until the end of time. I could go and set it to be active for 14 days and then stop. And that promotion will go directly out from the point of sale. This gives us an edge, right? Point of sale ultimately captures totals, keeping it up and running. That's all great news. But giving us the ability to target our customers and send them where we need to go. So the example I gave earlier where they're sitting in the room, hey, it's slowed down at the bar. Why don't you come down and get a drink? It actually helps drive business to the food and beverage and seems to be received very well out in the marketplace. So this is, I try to keep this within a half hour, and I went 2 minutes over on what I want to do. But I'd like to open it up for questions if anybody has any. I don't like to lecture too long on this, so I think people get more out of asking questions. So I guess, what's next?
Jeremy, thanks. That was really great, really informative, and lots of exciting stuff going on there. So we do have a couple questions coming through, if you don't mind taking a few.
Sure.
Okay, great. So one thing that did come up was the SkyWire interface. Does it interface to Shift4 for credit card processing, or which other companies do you interface with?
Yeah, so we use Shift4 for our gateway, and obviously Shift4 exposes us out to a multitude of processors. But if somebody didn't want to use Shift4, obviously Shift4 comes with some inherent strengths that some other companies don't have. But we have another company, another gateway that we use called DataCap, and that will expose us out to, another multitude of processors because there's no shortage of them out there. So we have a solution that'll fit pretty much every processor that is out in the market today. We strategically picked these two, DataCap and Shift4, for a couple of reasons. Shift4 and DataCap will directly bring us into EMV. So by developing the interface to their gateway, we are essentially prepared for EMV in the U.S. obviously when the time comes and when they define out everything that needs to be defined and they say go. We already have the interface in place. We just need to add the hardware that they selected, and that's it. So to answer your question, those are the two we use, which expose us out to all different ones: Elevon, Mercury Payment Systems, you name it, First Data, and so on and so forth. If they have any questions directly on specific processors, they're more than welcome to reach out to us, and we can get them a list of different ones we can use.
Great. So just to clarify here, can the system use hardwired terminals in addition to tablets to interface for the servers?
Yeah. So the TX1 that I had, let me just scroll up here. We can use tablets. We can use, let me just show this one again. We can use tablets. We can use terminal levels. We can use wired. We can use wireless. That stand there will allow for you to plug a tablet. When docked into the system, it will allow you to be wired or wireless. If you wanted to pull that off, you could pull that off the stand, take it to the table, do some table side ordering, or if you wanted to get different tablets, you'd be able to use that as well.
Perfect.
Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, just to touch on the SPA software, does it have appointment processing available as well?
Yes. Yes. So there's online appointments. There's scheduling appointments through multiple tiers. This one, the SPA program, is also an enterprise-style system. It's web-based, similar design to what I had showed you earlier on. It allows for you to schedule not only resources, physical resources, but like people, but schedule rooms and schedule different things. So it's a very flexible design in that it can be molded. Just because it's a spa program, it's really a spa and activities program. So you can use it in a spa, and you could say that Jeremy likes to go in for treatment and he likes to get a massage and so on and so forth. But it can also be used in an activity space. So some of the other customers that are using, they book camping trips on it. They book hiking trips on it. It's any activity, any person, and timing it can schedule out, and it's got some amazing capabilities as far as being able to work with multiple levels. So let's say I have packages. Packages is something that we do really well with the spa and activities program. Being able to take Jeremy, who comes to my resort, and be able to book him for a hiking one day, and be able to book him for a massage the next day, and be able to book him for some other treatment that I had out there. It will automatically go through, figure out times that are available, figure out resources that are available. It saves a lot of time from being able to manage that out. So that the SPA system itself is its own hour-long demonstration. I don't want to shortchange what it can do just by giving too much of a high-level overview. Once again, if you need some information on that, give us a call, and we can set up a demonstration.
Wow, that's a lot of exciting technology we have here. So a couple more questions have come through. So as far as POS security, what do you mean by out of scope?
So out of scope essentially means credit cards don't touch the point-of-sale system. The MAG card reader that you see on the right-hand side of the screen here is it comes pre-injected with a key from Shift4 or DataCap or whoever you use. And that key is only kept within the MAG card, and the other end of that key is only kept within your gateway. So essentially, the credit cards never touch the system. It keeps it completely out of scope. So when you get audited, let's say PCI comes in and they want to audit you, you don't have to worry about, hey, I need to audit my network, I need to audit the computers that live on it. They come in and you say, I run an out-of-scope solution. They audit the MAC card and the MAC card alone. So leaving the point of sale itself out of scope, leaving your network out of scope, leaving different areas of it out of scope. So that's essentially what it is.
Okay. So how does that tie into the EMV? And what,
yes.
Any idea when EMV standards will be coming down the line?
Yeah, we're looking at the latest I've heard, the latest projections I've heard in the U.S., EMV is supposed to be out probably about the third quarter of this year. That's moved a couple times before, so I don't have the exact details on it, but essentially once those standards are defined, what you need to know from a point-of-sale, SkyWire point-of-sale perspective, and SPA for that matter, we are ready to move on it. We've built the architecture, we have built the interfacing, we have done everything we need to do to be ready. And like I said earlier in the presentation, that all we need to do is they need to tell us which devices they're going to use, whether it's an Ingenico or whatever product they choose to use, and then we just add those devices in, and we're ready to go. That's part of the strategic partnership with companies like Shift4.
That's great. Good to see that you're right on top of that.
Yeah, you got to stay on top of those ones. Credit card security is the bane of any point-of-sale existence if you don't do it right. So
yeah,
we make sure to stay up to date.
In terms of the POS terminals themselves, do you only use HP, or can you interface to other systems?
Yeah, so we run on Windows 8.1, and while I'm going to say this, we recommend HP products, and we are sure we can get you a great deal on it. Ultimately, like I said, I think in the second or third slide, we run on Windows. We run on Windows 8.1. So any device that runs on Windows 8.1 is technically, able to run our software. The only thing that we require is that we don't do XP or anything earlier than that, because those devices are old and they don't have enough memory and things like that to accommodate our demands. But we are essentially device agnostic in that respect. Now, we'd like to test some of those things out. The printers, anything Epson compatible we work with, so that's the Stars of the world, that's the Epson printers, all those guys. Cash drawers, APG, MMF, we work with, doesn't matter. So yeah, we can run on other equipment other than HP, absolutely.
Okay, that's great. So we just have a couple final questions here regarding the self-healing database. Just
Sure.
Again, we just want to clarify on how secure it is, and does it bog down your network with extra traffic?
Yeah, so that's always a concern. It's always a concern with when you get into an IT environment, that if we have that many terminals and we're passing back and forth databases and being able to move transition things appropriately, bandwidth would be a concern. And when we were building this, it was obviously something that we focused in on. We've shrunken down the size of the database to keep it short, and the average transition or transaction comes in at about 2 to 3K. So the traffic itself is very minute. But when combined with zone controllers that cut down all of the traffic into certain segments of the network, you keep the traffic down, and you shouldn't even notice any difference in network traffic from your standard point-of-sale system. And as far as security goes, obviously with the zone controllers and things like everything is encrypted from the ground up. No transmission goes out of our point-of-sale without being encrypted. We obviously can go up through web servers and things like that to post to a hosting center if you want it to be in the hosting environment, or if it's self-hosted, then obviously you keep the traffic in-house.
Okay, that's great. So we can start wrapping up here. We have some questions here that are specific on per property, and for those questions, we will follow up with you after the webinar.
Okay.
So don't think we're ignoring your questions.
Well, there's some there that are just specific questions. So for people on the call, we will follow up with you separately after the webinar on those. And here's one last one. Is there a training module with your point-of-sale system?
Yes. We have built-in training functionality so you can transition the point of sale to a training environment. We also have sandboxes that we offer to our customers. So if they just wanted to learn how to configure items or anything like that, we would set up a sandbox environment where they could learn how to program, or if they weren't sure what the effect of making a change to a system is going to be, we could set up those sandbox environments. As far as front of the house, we just set it to training mode, and then you can teach all your servers and bartenders how to do things without calculating totals or sending to the kitchen and so on.
Okay, just one sec here. There's just a question here. Can you answer the user interface reporting question above? I don't actually see that question anywhere. So I will follow up with you separately regarding that. I don't see that question. So thank you, everybody, for joining us. And Jeremy, thank you for taking the time to present. And no like I mentioned before, I will be posting this webinar on the RoomKey website.